Welcome back, mathematicians. Today, in Chapter 2, we are going to be dividing by a 2-digit number. So here's our learning goal. I can divide a 2, 3, or 4-digit number by a 2-digit number. So rate yourself, fist to 4. How well do you think you can do this right now? Just to review from last time, we can use lots of different strategies and methods to divide by tens. So one of our favorites is to know that if there's a 0 in the divisor and a 0 in the dividend, we can cross those out and then divide. So now instead of 180 divided by 20, we can do 18 divided by 2, which is 9. And to double check that answer, we want to multiply our divisor, which was 20, times 9, which was our quotient, to make sure that the answer was correct. So 0 times 9 is 0, 9 times 2 is 18, and that was our dividend, so we got it right. There's another strategy that we can also use when dividing by tens. We could put 180 inside the house, the divisor 20 on the outside. We could think, how many times does 20 go into 1? 0 times. We want to put the 0 right above there. But now we have this 2-digit number, 20 into 18. It still can't go, so we need to put the 0 up above the tens. But now if we do 180 divided by 20, now we can actually go in, and it goes in 9 times. We put the 9 in the ones place. We multiply 9 times 20, which is 180, and then we can subtract. There's no remainder. There's even another strategy that I know some people like to use, where they put a line down the right side and they think, okay, about how many times can 20 go into 180? Well, I want to start with a number I'm sure of, and I know that 5 times 20 is 100, so there's at least 5 20s in 180. Oh, and I still have 80 left over. Well, 20 can go into 84 times. 4 times 20 is 80, and now I have no remainder. How many times did I put 20 in? You add these numbers up, 9. So again, no matter which way you slice it, the quotient is 9. So using those same 3 strategies, but with a different equation, let's look to see how we need to be careful sometimes. So again, if we have 180 times 40, so now our divisor is different. If we want to try and use that first strategy of crossing out the zeros, now we have 18 divided by 4. Well, 18 divided by 4 is 4, but there's a remainder of 2. I'm telling you guys right now, we cannot use this strategy if there's a remainder, and I'm going to show you why the remainder is not 2. So if we use our house strategy, 180 divided by 40, can 40 go into 1? Nope, so we put a 0. Can it go into 18? Nope, so we put another 0. Can it go into 180? Yes. How many times? Let's try 4. So 4 times 40 is 160. We subtract, we get 20. That's our remainder. Our remainder is in fact 20, not 2, and that's why we cannot use the crossing out of 0 strategy when there's a remainder. And remember, the way that we like to write this is now that we're in 5th grade, we're not going to write R20, we're going to write 4 and 20/40ths. The remainder is the numerator, and the denominator is our divisor. And if you want to simplify, you can. It would be 4 and 1/2. Now, we are going to use another strategy. We're going to estimate to help us divide by a 2-digit number. So what do we estimate? Well, we estimate the divisor. If we have 83, and we're going to be dividing it by 15, let's think about the fact that our divisor, 15, well, that rounds to about 20. Okay, now, to make it much easier, how many times can 20 go into 83 or 80? Well, how about we try 4? I'm going to try putting 15 into 83 4 times. 15 times 4 is 60. So now I'm going to subtract 60 from 83, and I get 23. Uh-oh, hold up, we've got a problem. Our difference is greater than our divisor. That's an immediate red flag. So 4 was not the number we should have put up on top. Our estimations can sometimes be a little off, and we want to be careful of that. So here's what we want to do. 4 was too small because it ended up leaving us with a number that was bigger than our divisor. So let's try 5. So 15 times 5 is 75. Let's make sure what we're left with is not greater than our divisor. And we are ending up with 8. So would be 5 remainder 8, but remember we want to write it as a fraction. It would be 5 and 8/15. And the way we want to check this to make sure we're absolutely correct is we take our quotient, our answer, which was 5, and we multiply it times our divisor, which was 15. But if we have a remainder, that means we need to add in our remainder to make sure we end up with our original number, the original dividend. And we do. We end up with 83. So we know that. Here we have another division problem, and we're going to use estimation to help us divide by this 2-digit number. 235 divided by 32. So here I'll write 235 divided by 32. Okay, remember we want to estimate and round our divisors. So I'm going to say 32 rounds to about 30. So now I'm going to think, well, can 32 go into 2? No, so I have to put a 0 there. Can 32 go into 23? No, so I need to put a 0 there. So now I'm going to have to put 32 into 235. But I'm going to use multiples of 30 to help me figure out what should I guess with. So getting as close to 23 as I can, I know that 30 times 7 would be 210, and I know that 30 times 8 would be 240. Well, 240 is too big. Oops, 30 times 8. So I'm going to try and go with 7. But now what I have to remember is that I need to multiply 32 times 7. 30 was just my estimate to help me guess. 7 times 2 is 14. 7 times 1 is 20. 7 times 3 is 21 plus 1 is 22. Okay, I think this is going to work. So let's subtract 7 times 32, which is 224, and we end up with a remainder of 11. So again, we want to write that as 7 and 11/32. And we're going to multiply to double check to make sure our answer is correct. So we have 32 times 7, which is 224. We need to add our remainder, so we're going to plus 11, and we end up with our original dividend. So we're good. All right, our last estimation that we are going to use to help us divide, 6,118 divided by 75. So let's put this inside of our house here, divided by 75. And 75, you know what? For me, I'm going to make it easier for myself. I'm going to round it up to 80. Okay, well, can 75 go into 6? Nope, so I put a 0. Can it go into 61? Nope, so I put a 0. Okay, now I'm going to think about it going into 611. Well, 80 can get me really close if I multiply it times 7, because that would be 560. And the other number I could multiply 80 by is 8, and that would get me 640. Well, that's too big. So I'm going to try going with 7. But remember, don't multiply by 80. You have to multiply by the original number, which was 75. And 75 times 7, it's 49, plus 3 would be 52. Okay, let's try it here. 525, we're going to subtract and make sure that we don't end up with a number that's larger. Uh-oh, and we did. 86 is bigger than 75, so that means we went too small, which means we need to multiply, we need to put up on top not 7, but 8. So let's try that this time. Let's try going up with 8 because it was a little bit too small. Let's multiply 75 times 8 to see what we should be subtracting. Okay, and we actually end up with 600. Now we can subtract. Phew, our subtraction, our answer is less than our divisor. We can bring down our 8. And now let's think, how many times can 75 go into 118? I'm pretty sure it's only once. Let's double check. 1 times 75 is 75. We're going to subtract. Yeah, and here's our remainder. So we have remainder 43, but we want to write it as 81 and 43/75. We would want to multiply 81 times 75 to check our answer, and then add our remainder of 43 to make sure we got it right. So how do you feel now about this skill of dividing a 2, a 3, or 4-digit number by a 2-digit number? Rate yourself.